minute, so I just finished laundry.
Oh,
That's good.
yeah, that
Yes.
was a good thing.
Well, tonight we're supposed to be having like a show that's streaming, but we're just going to talk just like regular,
Okay.
So we've been doing the episode, the masterclass called Symphony of Personalities. My name is Angela Gibson for the purposes of recording after Sound Official. My name is Angela Gibson, the founder of Eve Speaks, where we heal, aspire, and grow. Thank you for joining us, whether in the replay or live. We are welcoming you to a healthy, robust, worthy, and worthwhile conversation about the symphony of personalities, mental health versus growth, and the hidden link specifically. That's the title of today's show. And with me, I have my esteemed co-host, Genevieve Queenum. Please tell us about yourself, Genevieve.
I'm Genevieve Kenham, co-host and member of the coaching team of Eve Speak. So I'm happy to be with you tonight in this episode.
Thank you. And Deirdre, since you're on the panel with us, please tell us about yourself. Introduce yourself, please.
My name is Deirdre Sala. I'm a mother of two. I'm married. I'm a grandmother. I'm also a licensed minister. And
I didn't know that part. See, I'm getting to know you, a different dimension of you tonight.
Surprise.
Yeah.
I sometimes I just don't feel to say that. Because then people kind of change the way they talk or they whatever they do. Sometimes people change the way they are with me, like just being them natural selves.
Right.
So I rather let my life speak for itself and not give a title. I don't really I don't care about titles.
Very smart, very wise.
So that is who I am.
Okay, well, thank you. As I said before, my name is Angela Gibson, and Eve Speaks was founded on the premise that, well, honestly, I started it because I was an anxious wreck, and I passed out in front of a crowd when I tried to give a speech in 2016. I struggle with anxiety. I'm an anxiety warrior. I'm an overcomer, but I still have my days when I'm neither here nor there. But most of the times now, I make it through my day in joy. So I am very grateful for that. But there was a time, once upon a time, when my moments were stolen, hijacked by anxiety. So I'm very grateful for that journey to have come to this place where I can be in camera talking. Wow. That's what deliverance looks like.
Amen.
So I'm very grateful. So this conversation tonight essentially is going to revolve around relationships and our press into relationships, and specifically how relationships can be helped or hindered by personality types. And it's important that we kind of blend the way we think about relationships and also by incorporating the different types of personalities and how relationships can either be helped or hindered based on how you see these personalities, how you interact with them, whether or not you allow them to frustrate you or grow you or help you. So Genevieve, we're going to start the conversation off by defining, as you normally do, the 4 types of relationships, or 4 types of personalities, rather. We can't hear you. You're mute.
Yeah, so we will have an interesting conversation tonight. So based on the different personalities and mental health and relationships and how it can affect our growth. Yes, I think that we will have an interesting topic tonight.
Indeed. So tell us about the different types of personalities. At least define them first for the audience.
Yes, as we used to say it in the other webinars presentation, we have I am a consultant with the Maxwell Leadership Disc. So the disc is the acronym for the four personality type: the dominant, the influential, the steady, and the compliant style.
Mm-hmm.
So each personality trait has, their own specificity and their way of behaving and thinking. With the different type of personality, you can identify the motivations of people and so on. So the D personality are those who are very strong in their characters. They are decision maker. Yes, so they are not afraid of even making difficult decision, while the influential are more people who are described like the stars of the group, always ready for a joke, and they like people, they like to be around people, they like to be liked. Like
Mm.
we can see it like this. And the stable are the if I can say, the group, the team expert, those who likes to be, to like the consensus, who likes everybody to be okay, feeling well in the group. And most of the time, they are the kind of people that cannot forget themselves so that everybody can be happy. They are a little bit, we can call them sometimes people pleaser, you know.
Mm.
So, and the compliant are the big organizer. They are those who always have, you know, their a planner. They like to organize things. They like when things are ordered. They analyze everything. Those are the guys that you can let them like take care of the trips and the parties and all the things. They won't forget anything. So describe like this is very basic, but it's just to show you that the different trait of each personality. And one of the error that we should not do, one of the big mistake, is to just go right away and say this one is better than the other one, because actually I just described the basically the four personality, but they each personality have their strength and their growth area. All
Mm-hmm.
right. They are better in some area than others. And the thing is that we need all the four personality to build a better world. And most of the time we are not just one personality trait. We are often a blended of two or three trait of those personality.
Okay. Well, let me
Right.
ask you, Dee, what personality traits do you think you are the most of the four that's described? Dominant, influential, steady, or compliant? Do you think you're compliant, Dee? I don't know. You don't strike me as a compliant type, but okay. But you might be all four. That's just my observation. But
So, okay, so right. So, I think I answered you. I'm a little of them all. Well, mainly, um, I am compliant. But I measure my compliancy, if that's such a thing.
you measure it.
I,
Okay.
it depends on the situation.
Mm-hmm.
It depends on the people, and I think the types. I am strong. I do make decisions. And I think for me, somebody's just they take a different part of my life. It depends on what season I'm in. Some
Mm.
seasons I have to be more than others. I have to be more dominant in one area than another. Some seasons I am that person who want to just, just chilling and just, let people do. Depends on what the season is. So I can be very pliable in any given situation. It's like, you put on a cap as a mother. You put on a cap. Your mom now, when they're better, when you're doing homework, you're a teacher. You're a cook. You wear all these titles, you wear all these hats, you wear these personalities. Some are stronger than others, but for me, I just believe it's the season that I'm in. or what I'm doing. Example, yesterday went to a wedding, um, and the people were very slow getting the food out.
Uh-huh.
And so it was like, we need help. Like, okay, let's get it done. So I'm serving cake, I'm serving food, I'm placing orders. They
Mm-hmm.
ran out of food. It's like, well, give this instead of this. Again, you jump in whenever needed.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, yeah, I do have a very strong personality, but on the other hand, I am my disclaimer is, if people know me, they know that I'm always coming from a place of love, even if it sounds a little strong. If
Mm-hmm.
you know me, then you know it's always coming from a place of love.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's just my personality. I am very confident in who I am, which for some people it can be intimidating, but that's not my fault.
Mm. It's
I've
not your
learned
fault. It's
it's
their
not my
fault.
fault. That is your own insecurity. That is
The you
something that,
problem.
yeah, that's a you probably, I don't, I had to learn that though, and I do ask myself, well, maybe I was, but show me. I tell people, if you say I'm hurt, you show me where I am. I have an aunt
Mm.
who I love very, very much, but one day she tried to say, because I said, you're a very mean person. Like, you're mean. And she was like, well, you mean too. I said, well, did you say that because I am mean? Or are you just saying it to, get back at me
To be
because I called
combative,
you
yeah.
mean? So, and I said to me, then explain to me how I'm mean to you.
Mm.
And she could not give me an answer. I said, what you don't like is when I say no to you. You don't like to be told no. You don't like when other people stand up to you. You like
Mm.
when people fold and just give in. That's not me. And I said, and you know that. I said, but you can't prove it. I said, and if I was me, you would never call me for all the advice that you call me for,
Good point.
unless you just like abusive relationships.
So one of the things I wanted to thank you for sharing that because it gives me more insight into who you are, actually. One of the things I wanted to make sure we discussed tonight was how we can fail to see how the different personalities can be helpful to our destinies, depending on how we receive them or reject them. For example, you could be sent by God to be my best friend who is going to be my burden bearer, for example. But because I don't like your personality, I forfeit the advantage that relationship could be. One of the things we've been doing here, as you know, is that we've been pressing into different dimensions of relational health and relationships, period, and being able to identify the different types of relationships. But I think that in order to do that, we also need to be educated about how to weave in the personality type with the relationship. Because do you agree that you could somehow forfeit a relationship because even though it may be God sent, because you can't determine or discern that this person is supposed to be your destiny helper, for example. Have you noticed or thought about this in the past?
Experienced it. And the
Mm,
key thing that you did say, you said, that it's God sent. So it's not the person and the personality that you're rejecting. You're rejecting what God sent.
mm,
He didn't send it to you the way you thought it would look, the way it spoke, the way you thought it should speak. Which to me, it just dismantles the whole thing, because it's not that God is not interested in our personality, right? He's
right.
interested in our character.
Mm,
And our character is built on Christ. What does Christ look like? And
mm,
so my experience with that was, there was a young lady who mentored me. She was like maybe 12 years younger than I was,
mm-hmm,
but she knew the word of God. And this particular situation that I was going through at the time, she knew the word. She knew how to pray for it. She knew how to stand. She knew how to teach me how to fight a spiritual fight. And so I loved her because I loved the gift that was in her. I didn't necessarily have to like her personality. That's not what she was there for. She wasn't there to be liked.
Mm.
She was there to teach me and to bring me through. And my job was to accept it and to go with it because I began to see the fruitfulness in who she was.
But could that be because you yourself were pursuing a relationship with God or had some semblance? So if you don't
Yes.
have that relationship with God, are you going to be able to tell? I mean,
Well, so with that, I believe because I had a need, God filled the need. It didn't come the way. You have to learn how to discern where is it coming from? Why is she here? When it's like I pray for something, Lord, send me help, right?
mhm,
You ever heard the story where the person, the house is floating and the guy is on the roof and God
Mhm.
sends a helicopter, he sends people, he
mhm.
sends a boat,
Mhm.
and then
Mhm.
it's like you die and you go to heaven. You say, well, God, what happened? I sent the boat, I sent it. So you have to be able to know, well, I cried out to God, I asked for help, and this is who they sent. She's given me what I need.
Mm.
And so she filled the purpose, and it wouldn't have been the package that I was looking for. It wouldn't have. David is a perfect example, right? David was
Right.
out with the sheep. It's not, people look at people or personality, whatever. God is not interested in that. I'm learning, right? He loves us, right? But he has to fine tune who we are that he would get the glory.
Mm.
Mhm.
So
It's
when you think
interesting.
back, can you based on what Genevieve, how she outlined those personality types,
Mhm.
the dominant, the steady, the compliant,
Yeah.
and the influence, which personality type do you think she fell into, that helper, that destiny helper that God sent to you during that really um, difficult time in your life? If you had to, I mean, nobody's any one thing, but if you had to put her close to which one?
She would have been oh wow.
Let's run it
I,
through.
I,
Dominance, seek
I think
control,
she would have to be
decisive.
the dominant. Yeah, I think she would have had to been the dominant because of my personality. Like she had to be very firm and very strong on me to help me to understand what
Mm,
exactly I was going through. She was very, very curt, very firm, but it was attractive because it was like, yeah, she know what she's talking about. And then God put this special blend on it that I was seeing the results. So then
nice.
personality was the hell with personality. This girl know what she's talking about. I wasn't, she knew what she was talking about. And because I was seeing results,
Right.
none of
Result.
that even mattered. None of that even mattered to me at the time because what she was showing me and what she was telling me, I didn't care how it was wrapped up.
Because
I
you were
was
getting
seeing
results.
I was seeing results.
Results will bail you out all the time.
Yeah,
That's
I was
true.
seeing results.
what,
Results is,
what,
I hear, is one of the biggest sermons. Results.
yeah,
Nobody can argue with results.
what Dee is explaining is very interesting. And what I wanted to add is that, it is true that there's a very like tiny if I can say it, uh line between
In line.
character and personality,
Hmm.
because they are very intertwined. And while
Character
character,
and personality are intertwined. Is that what you
yeah,
said?
character, exactly. Because
How so?
character is more what is in the core, the inner, the belief, the value. And personality is all the behavior, the psychology that is behind those behavior. And actually we can say that the character influence the personality. Some other will say that the personality will reveal your character and or build your character. And actually when we come to the point of the behavioral analysis, like the disco, for example, we can see that there's a natural attraction between some personality type. This is
Okay.
human, right?
But it doesn't
So
sound like she was particularly attracted. Would you say you were attracted to her personality type
no,
because
no,
you're also dominant?
no,
Or you just
actually,
needed help? Or you
no,
just loved it was
actually,
just the results?
yes, there's a kind of natural attraction between some personality type. But as you said, when you come to this point of spiritual maturity, you can then, see that sometimes maybe I like to be around those kind of people. Those are the person that I like to be with because I like their way of being. But actually, you can understand sometimes that God sends you, you know, another type of personality on your way to help you, for example, and
Right.
So let me
mhm,
So,
ask it. So just naturally speaking, right?
mhm,
Here's an example. I'm traveling, I'm on a plane, I meet a wonderful woman on the plane, right? We talk from South Carolina back to New York.
mhm,
We got off the plane, we exchanged numbers. When she's in town, we go to dinner, we talk, we text, and it was just a natural connection.
mhm.
There was no analyzing, there was no any of that. Like it's not
Yeah.
thought like, okay, well, is she a D? Is she it's like checking somebody broad. She an A cup, a D cup? It's like it's just natural. Like I meet people, it's just naturally meeting people. Yes, as you
Mhm,
get to know people, then you kind of say, well, she's a little moody, or we
mhm,
don't have this study, right? We don't meet people with this study case in mind, right? We meet people because we meet people, right? Everyday life, you bump into people, some you like, some you don't, and then some you get to learn. Like, I'm not into signs, right? Zodiac, I'm not into signs. But when I have read things on, I'm born April, I'm an Aries.
mhm,
Um, and basically, it talks about Aries people are no nonsense people. They don't play games. They very cut. They very this. They very that. Right? I can agree with some of that.
mhm,
I can agree with some of it. And our tolerance level for foolishness is none. We don't, and we don't do clicks. We don't do negativity well at all. Like I don't.
mhm.
If I have a friend who's always a Debbie Downer, my patience for her or him is very limited. Like I have to gear myself up because I
Mm,
know that they only gonna bring bad news
mm.
or something. And so I'm very careful of my circle because life has happened. Life has, things have happened. And there's just some things at 58, I'm like, no, I'm not doing it. And I think all these personalities come with age, come with experience, come with life trials where you might find me in the mix of this.
So the idea is, we're not going around thinking about science necessarily, but what we're trying to say is that if you're educated about it, you'll be able to identify it, sooner and know how to navigate it better, as opposed to being clueless.
But the fun to that is it's not, I don't think it's being clueless. It's like, first of all, giving somebody a chance, right?
Okay.
It's giving somebody a chance, and then I can decide after knowing the person whether or not or where I even want to place this person, right? And let me get to know you, right? Because people will always, to me, show your true colors, who you really are, and it's just
Are you trying to say that you don't think it's necessary to know personalities because you just need to give them a chance and that's okay?
yeah, I would say that only because I know me, right? So I'm not concerned about them so much. I'm concerned about me and how I handle the person. How am I handling this person? I can know somebody is jacked up. I can know that about you. But then I know how to handle you. I approach you. You will never know that I know you jacked up, but I'm gonna handle you with hands. I'm gonna handle you with care because I see that, hey, there's a problem here. I know I have an aunt, a relative who I know she have some stuff going on, right? I
Uh-huh.
always tell people I just believe on meeting people where they are.
Well, that could be coming from also the fact that you're a little bit more educated. You're a licensed minister, so your awareness is a little bit higher than the average person. But whether or not you had that background, being educated, knowledge can only enhance our effectiveness in relationship. Is that
Right.
not true?
Absolutely.
Knowledge damages darkness. So if I'm aware that when I meet someone, okay, I don't know all about them, but I can say, oh, she has some traits of dominance, and I have some kind of reference point of the best way to deal with the personality. It might just help my mental health,
So is
right?
it for you? Is it for them? Like who? It's for you, but it's like I
You
don't
can
want
also learn how to deal with them by knowing how to best approach them that's going to be effective.
to
If
listen.
I don't
Okay.
have any clue, there's a law called the law of relationships. There is a
Yes.
law
Yes.
that governs relationships. So if I am educated on the different types of relationships, the different types of personalities, then I stand at an advantage. The Bible says my people perish for lack of knowledge. Does it not say that? So it can't hurt to learn. It doesn't mean you're going to box people in, but it definitely gives you a broader reference from which to navigate.
Right. But it's also right. It's you don't want to box people in, but then there is that thin line that you will
You
more so
will if you're not aware that you're doing it. If you have the
But
awareness that that's a
but
potential, you're more, again, educated to say, wait a minute, maybe I know what I know, but let me get to know this person, but not forsaking what the science teaches about the personality. It's all education. Being aware that you could possibly fall into this trap is a form of education as well.
the
The
thing is
awareness
that,
factor, right?
yeah, the thing is that you you can believe it or not, you can want it or not, we are actually boxed in some kind of behavior. We all have a way of reacting to some things because of, personalities, character are shaped by environment, genetics, and experience. So
Mm,
you can want it or not, we are all boxed in all those things. And actually, it's not the things that we have to reflect, and especially have these signs in mind when we're meeting someone. Actually, everything goes very naturally. But this science is just to learn, trying to understand how people behave, how do they choose, what motivates people to do this and this. You see, when you meet this lady in the plane and you just start discussing with her, if this lady was a real, like, C personality, a high personality, this connection won't be, it would not be possible because those are very introverted people. They don't have the, they don't interact easily, you know, and and it will be the same thing. There are a natural attraction between people, and I think that it is. It things that I came to understand and even notice even in the Bible. I think that if Jesus asks us, what do you think? Who am I for you? It's because there's an importance for us to know others.
mhm.
It's essential in interaction. Someone said that knowing ourselves is enlightenment, but actually knowing others is wisdom. And
Right.
when you see the story of God and human, it's all about a relationship and how you need to know the other part. We need, God wants us to know Him. And He's telling us every day that He knows us. So
Mm,
that's a question of relationship. We know how God behaved, like, in the scripture where they say that there was a big wind and it was like this and this, but God was not here. It was because of the circumstances. God revealed Himself in a certain way, you
right.
know, and just like I used to say it when I say that I discovered that personality are deeply embedded even in what God is teaching us. Because when you see, there was so many disciples, so many apostles in that time, but God chooses Paul for the what I can say, for the mission of the nations, because he was the one with the temper and the experience and the environment that fits, the nation's mission. So I don't think that we have to work, and we should not box people actually, just like you said, like, oh, this person is a A's. We are a blend of all this, and just like you say, I love when you said in the beginning that it's depend on my season, and yes, because actually we all have a trait of our personality, that come up according to the situation or the circumstance. Then you will say that, whoa, this is my C trait that is coming up like this. But when we talk like this, it's just because, as Angela said, that we are educated. But yeah, it should be very natural.
We have to apply wisdom when the situation
Yeah,
comes up. But the education that we have,
exactly.
we have to
Yeah,
apply the wisdom. So the knowledge is great, without the wisdom, though, we cannot profit from the knowledge. So we have to know when it's applicable in the situation. The point, though,
exactly.
is I can think of times when I looked at my interaction with someone. I can treat them a certain way based on my perception, not knowing that it's probably just their personality. I may think, oh, she's standoffish. Oh, people have thought that of me. Oh, she looks stuck up. When in truth, I was struggling so much just to have a sane mind to go through my day. But because I was struggling so much mentally, people would say to other people, she seems really stuck up, or like she's better than people. Meanwhile, I'm just trying to survive because I was struggling so much. So again, the education is important, but when the situation comes, we have to apply wisdom. Welcome, Arlene. Why are you off camera hiding? The important thing is also that as we are going through this, the point of this whole episode is to talk about how mental health is impacted. Our relationships impact our mental health, which then impacts our growth. So we have to be concerned about the whole thing, really. But definitely by understanding the relationships, it will, understanding the personalities, it will kind of inform our intelligence and our consciousness and our awareness about how to deal with people. And I think it will definitely impact the type or the quality of relationship we have with them. That will in turn minimize a lot of unnecessary friction, misunderstandings, miscommunications, and sometimes help us to avoid forfeiting that person might be a destiny helper. And so it's this trust and intimacy and confidentiality is important, comes into play when we have a clear understanding or a better understanding, because it's a continuum, we're always growing, right, of the personalities, the relationship, and the different types. So that we don't mix them up. Casual friends, acquaintances, and then sometimes we put acquaintances in the middle and make them confidants or trusted relationships, and then we get all turned around when it doesn't work the way we want to. So the idea is to have clarity and know where to put the different boundary lines. Make sense? A quote that we found: being deeply loved by someone gives you strength, while loving someone deeply gives you courage. I think Jay found this one. It's a nice one. Let's move the conversation on. The types of relationships. Now, I've been thinking about relationships a lot lately, and we talked about the covenant in the group. They're lifelong, they're spiritual. They tend to be, I would think they're more intimate relationships. Then we talk about the seasonal, the ones that come in and out. They're not necessarily bad, they're just for a season. I'm sure you've experienced some of that. And then we talk about the general. And again, sometimes I think we can graduate from different categories. Like the general could become seasonal, and the seasonal could possibly become covenant. Again, it's applying the wisdom, because if we just think it's just like this and it's a hard line, then there's no flexibility and we can forfeit opportunities again. But the question I want to ask Genevieve is it possible to apply the personalities to these different categories? Do you think that personalities necessarily are more likely to be within one of these categories or not? Covenant, seasonal, or general? That's just a question that just came to mind. I've never thought about it before.
Well, I think that yes, we can apply personalities in everything. Like everywhere where you go, you will see people and how they behave, what motivates them. Then you can have, and once again, it's just a question to improve our relationships with others. Like
Mm-hmm.
when you know how what motivates people, what people are more likely to react positively and so on, then you can use this knowledge you have just to build better relationship. That's the main goal of this tool. But yes, we can apply it to everything. But when, for example, I see covenant relationship, lifelong, spiritual, significant. This comes when we can go beyond, this personality and all this stuff. Like, for example, you can have a very tough friend, and you can say that, yeah, I like to be with people who like to, like, for example, I'm I personality. I like, wherever there is a party, joy, jokes, and all this stuff. I like to be around people like this. But God sent me, for example, a DOC personality to help me build, my vision and help me move forward and reach my goals. Those are the kind of relationship that at the end of the day, you will finally discover that those are covenant relationships. And we used to say it, for example, in some, especially in marriage, that uh, the opposite are attract. You
Mm-hmm.
see? So yeah, we it can fall in this category. Seasonal, yes, that can be people that you need to have them around, even though, for example, when I take the chart of the interaction, I can see that, between some personalities, you can have, for example, the rate for the work relationship and the human relationship. And with some personality, the human relationship is higher than the work relationship. For some other is higher for the work. So occasionally you can have a relation just for work and it works, but you know that it's just for work. It's not, the connection won't go farther,
You have to be able to
you know?
discern.
Yeah. And yes, I think that's we can see it everywhere.
The thing that I've managed to do recently is I observe that different preachers were talking about relationships in different ways, and I'm trying to see the similarity between what they're saying. This is why this one, I can't remember who brought this up, covenant seasonal in general, but then another preacher talked about the destiny helpers, the burden bearers, the people of influence, the divine connectors, and the gifted people. And I was thinking to myself, all of these different categories somehow are related. And it's so important that we continue to press into the different dimensions of relational health. And I think we talked about this before, but I wanted to talk about it in the context of the personalities. I'm not sure that there's any relationship between or among the personality types and the types of destiny helpers. I wanted to kind of pick your brain tonight, quite frankly, to see if you've observed. That's why I'm asking that question. If you've observed that, for example, is the dominant personality more likely to be a divine connector, or the steady more likely to be a burden bearer, or the people of influence more likely to be, I don't know, what's the other one? Compliant. It's just something to consider. Um, and the gifted people, where would they fall on that framework that we have over here of the personality types? It's just a higher level of thinking, because in our group, we talk about thinking for a change a lot, right? And so instead of just thinking about it in one dimension, we try to apply multiple dimensions to expand our understanding, our awareness, and inform our intelligence and damage darkness on every level. Now, we may ask these questions and not necessarily know the answers, but at least we are asking the question. I don't know that they are, but it's something that I would like you, all of us, to consider if there is some connection. And while I was doing this as well, so do you see any connection? If you do, you can step in and say, but that's just something that came to mind. But beyond that, though, I did want to bring up the whole thing of the importance of not allowing personalities to interfere with the possibility that someone might be a destiny helper. For example, we know from this chart that we need burden bearers. And I think about Jesus, and even he needed a burden bearer that helped him with his destiny. He was carrying the cross, he fell down, and this guy, Cyrene, helped him to carry the cross. I don't know what personality this guy was, but I don't know if it matters. The point is that he helped Jesus. Then we think about another another burden bearer. This guy with the guy whose friend put him through the roof. Is there a particular type of personality that would do that? I don't know, but doesn't hurt to ask. So those were the burden bearers. And then still with this chart here, we have the people of influence, another type of destiny helper. And we talk about this guy. His name was this the one?
Joseph.
Joseph of Arimathea. Asked for the body of Jesus. And according to this chart over here, he would fall into this category, the people of influence. Now, I wonder, though, could he have been an influential personality based on the quadrant that you showed, that we talked about up here? Persuasive, spontaneous, friendly. He had some kind of influence. Could he have been dominant too? Probably. But he definitely was persuasive, right? Because how likely is it somebody to give you a dead body if you ask for it, Deirdre? I mean, the government to agree, not very likely, but they listened to this guy and gave him the body of Jesus so that Jesus will be properly buried. And then we talked about the person, she's a divine connector. This is another category of relationships, the divine connector. And this is the story of the young Israelite servant girl who told Naaman's wife about a prophet in Israel who could heal leprosy. Now, if Naaman was caught up in this little girl's, or Naaman's wife was caught up in this little girl's personality or background, she could have dismissed her. Meanwhile, she had the key to connect him to the prophet who could heal.
So, right. And that's a perfect example, right? That the unlikely suspect, right? He didn't know who she was, but God sent this person, right? Which either you receive the help or not, because if you want, it's like you ask somebody, how bad do you want the blessing? How bad do you want to be healed? How bad do you want it? That the package that it comes in, it doesn't matter. I have a need and it doesn't come the way I want. I love my husband dearly, but if I were to put my now husband, my second husband, if I were to put him in a lineup as to what I thought my husband would look like, his personality and physical, he wouldn't have been in the lineup. I would not have chosen him, right? My prayer was, Lord, send me somebody who has a heart for God and loves his wife. Simple enough, right? No long to-do list. Because before I had the build, I had the dresser, I would have thought somebody who believes, right? But no, he didn't. My now husband wouldn't have picked him in the lineup, but he was a prayer answer. So it's almost laughable to me. It's like, oh my God, I would have never thought. He was very kind-hearted. I didn't need anybody to be right. I didn't need something as simple as somebody who was so tech savvy, right? My ex was tech savvy and he used the internet. He used his technology to basically kill our marriage because he was living a
Wow.
different life in the internet, in the World Wide Web. And
Mm.
jokingly, I said, Lord, I want my husband to have a flip phone. I don't want him to be tech savvy. I don't care about any of that. Guess what? My husband has a flip phone. He does not
He
text.
does?
He does not text. He used the phone for business and business only. Period.
Wow. That's amazing.
So, yeah. So again, experience. I'm learning. Okay, God. People say God says, be specific. He knows what you're gonna ask before you even ask it, but He also knows what we need. He knows what we have need of before we even come.
Mm.
So He knew what I had need of before I even came.
Right.
So
Your point is that you don't need to. What's your point exactly? What are
the
you saying?
point is that, like the little girl for Naaman, again, I think for me, what is the transferring of the renewing of the mind, right?
Mhm.
And for me personally, before I gave my life to Christ, my mind and how I saw things and thought and all these things, God had to kind of rewire some things because children learn what they live. So you learn what a wife looks like through your mother or a favorite auntie or somebody. You learn how to speak to people the way people spoke to you in your home and things like that. You learn what you learn. And so we take these things and we use them. And then God says, well, let me fine tune this, right? You're
Okay.
not all off, but let me fine tune it. That your character will look more like mine.
Mm.
I need you to now see what a biblical wife looked like and not what mommy looked like. Let me show you what a husband looks like and not what you were told a husband would look like.
Wow. Part.
So I look at like people who, let's say you were a Muslim and you decide to be a Christian or vice versa. I didn't have to undo those things to relearn everything. I knew some things. My grandmother showed me some things. I always grew up in church, but
Mm-hmm.
I had a bad attitude. I had anger that I didn't know that I had, but God had to reveal that to me. Like you think you're okay, and God says, well, no, let me show you this. Let me show
Mm.
you you. So in the process of God showing you you, then you have that compassion that when you look at others, you don't necessarily see them the way you see them.
Right. You're right. It's that transforming of the mind,
Yeah.
renewed by the transforming. It does make a big, huge difference, and I think it
That's
can
where the
also help.
wisdom comes in, right? It's not my wisdom. It's not my thought. It's not me. It's me relying and trusting in what I've read and what I've been taught. And
Mm.
so I don't see it the same way. How do you see somebody who stole from you, right? Somebody steals from you. You know they stole from you, right?
Right.
And God says, well, see him the way I see him. That's a child of God who's just struggling. That's the child of God who needs love right now. And you go, well, I need love too, but God says, no, love on that person. I'll love on you. But because it has been given to you, then you know how to then give that out and extend that grace and that mercy. And I think sometimes we forget to extend that grace because I don't want to say because we too deep sometimes. Like we're just too deep. I don't have to know everything or figure it out or know who you are. Meeting people where they are is just a thing for me because I want somebody to meet me where I don't try to read me, don't try to figure me out. As we talk, you'll get to learn me, you'll get to know me and say, okay, well, yeah, this is just who she is. I mean, yeah, she's loving, she's kind, she'll look a little rough around the edges or whatever, but it's just who the person is and just meeting them where they are.
I think we need a mixture of both.
We do. But I never want to miss out on God's blessing because I don't like a particular person or they didn't just strike me the right way. Because it could be that one instance that God will send you that person. And God has a funny sense of humor of sending you what you're not looking for.
Mm.
Because he looks at the heart. People are looking at all these other things, and God looks at us from the heart. And I think it's the heart of the person that attracts me.
I think it has a definitely. I definitely see your point for sure. Um,
Yeah.
I think it's a merger of the holistic approach to knowledge and applying wisdom. If we can
Exactly.
hold on to that, you'll know when to just take a person for who they are and throw everything out and let me just deal with this person, while not disbanding or uh, avoiding learning from a
Hmm.
scientific perspective. It's kind of like the person who says, "I believe in God, I don't believe in science." Well, God created science, so
Yeah.
we can take both, right?
Right. And
Um,
science is trying to catch up with God. God is not trying to catch up with science.
this is true, but the point you don't need to you don't need to like throw away all of science. They're both
No, not
dimensions
at
of
all.
God,
No,
No,
I
right?
not
mean
at all.
we're all reading each other, you know.
Mhm.
But me, I will picture it just like, this science, for example, is just like the alphabet. We all start, by the alphabet. We need to learn the basic, right? But after, wisdom will be compared to that, learning the way to, you know, make a composition with all these letters, right? And to make a coherent sentence. This
Mhm.
will need we need to learn to read people, and we need to learn to read the scripture to discover what is in the people. But it's just like a box. Before you get what is inside, you need to trust, you need to understand how to open this box first,
Right. But and then the
and
spirit says,
go.
try the spirit by the spirit. Because sometimes we get caught up in people and personalities, and it's the spirit behind the person. Like we would know a person, you can know a person, but sometimes it's the spirit that's operating in that person. It
Sure.
becomes spirit. It will always come back to be spiritual.
Yeah, for sure. And this is what Angela said. After all these things, you have to apply wisdom. That's mean to know the how, and the how to apply this knowledge that you receive. But I think that yes, we need all these things to
The
be
tripata,
to
the
what.
knowledge, the wisdom, and the
Yeah,
understanding. Because if I
Right.
apply the
exactly.
wrong knowledge to the right situation, it's still wrong, right?
Here's
So
a beautiful thing, right?
Yeah.
Here's a beautiful thing. Jesus says, come to me like little children, right?
uh-huh.
Come to me like little children. Because you know that we say the more you know, the more you grow, right? But there is a thin line, and us, the more we know. For some people it's like education, then you get all these degrees and then you don't feel that you need God, right? You're so
Yes.
smart, it was him who gave you the wisdom to do it. We never can discount God. He gave you that. He wanted you to know that. But now you can't just move him out of the picture and say, I did this, I built this. Dangerous.
Mm,
Dangerous. And then our smart, sometime our wisdom, our knowledge, it can interfere spiritually,
it
right?
can. It
With
can.
what God is doing. It can interfere spiritually because we always feel we need to know the how, what makes it click, the why. Everything is not for you to know. God said he gives us things in part, because if God actually revealed to us everything that he has called us to do, we would not do it because
Mhm.
it would be too much. Everything that God has kept from us, danger seen and unseen. If he revealed that to us, it would kill us because it'd be like, oh my God, that would have happened or this would have happened. And so he gives it in part.
I totally agree.
He
And I
says,
think that's what
wisdom
there's
I
a scripture
freely
in.
give. If you don't know wisdom, I freely give it. We're her. He even called wisdom a woman, a her,
I love that, don't you? I
right?
love that.
He calls it a her, right?
Yes.
So again, when we don't know, there is always that word that God has given us that we can go to and rely on him. All of heaven is backing us. Heaven backs me more in the word, right, than in my own knowledge.
This is true. Actually, there's a scripture that actually backs it up in 2 Corinthians 8, verse 2. It says, for the person who thinks he knows, he should realize that he doesn't know anything yet. So I think when you take all of these things, at the one hand, God is saying, without knowledge, your people perish. On the other hand, he's also saying, be careful when you think you know too much, because you probably don't know much and you know in part. So he's not saying to dismiss any of them. He's saying, come to me with humility. That's what I hear. I think that's the appeal. come to me with humility, with all that you think you know and what you don't know, and even what you're sure you know about.
He's a God of balance.
Right.
Even
Come to me with
Paul, with all his
humility.
acolytes, he said he counted rubbish than to
Right.
know Christ. All the things that he know, all the things that he has done, he counted to be naught.
He did say that. It's absolutely.
Right?
At the same time, he also, because of his background, though, he was able to reach those people. Because he could easily say, oh, I'm well learned. I am the Jew of Jews. I'm this, I'm that. Because they respected this knowledge that he has, or the stance that he had in life, the influence that he had. But he knew that it was about God.
Right.
But for them, they were impressed with it. So it served the
So
purpose.
God knows, right? Like God lets us live our lives. He
Right.
allows us to live our lives up to a certain point, and then he calls us. Like nobody, if anybody would have said that I would have been called into ministry, I would have told you that would never happen. I didn't choose it.
Right.
I didn't choose it.
Right.
It chose me.
Mm.
Right? I thought it was the worst nightmare ever.
You did?
Because the Lord spoke to me in a dream and I saw me preaching on the subway.
Wow, that's deep.
And when I woke up, I called my friend, my what do we call her? My destiny helper. And I explained the dream to her. And she laughed and she calls me Pookie. She said, Pookie, I can see you doing that. I was like, doing what? She was like, evangelism. What? I didn't even know what evangelism was.
Really?
Like I always saw people preaching and train, but to put a title on it, a name on it, or a position in the church for it, I didn't know what it was.
Oh.
Right? So I know that it wasn't me. And then the day came. The day actually came where I stood up on the New York City subway and I just gave a word, like, a word of comfort, right?
Mm.
Very simple. God says, don't look at their faces. I'm going to speak through you.
Wow.
So I did it. And when I got off the train, I was shaking like I don't know what. I went to my car and had like this breakdown because I couldn't believe I did it because yeah.
Wow. When was this?
So this had to be somewhere in the 90s.
Wow.
I gave my life to the Lord in like 90, 91, 90. I began my journey then. Even then, it was a dream that God had given me that I was in prison.
That you were in prison?
So that's what started it. Yeah. I had a dream that I was in prison, but in the dream, I can hear myself very clearly. I'm talking to a woman and she asked me, why was I there? And my answer was because I didn't wait on God and I woke up.
Really? That's some
I
serious.
understood what the dream was about. I was going through a very tumultuous time in my marriage and I inflicted pain on my husband.
Wow. That's
So
intense.
God was letting me know, hey, I'm tapping you on your shoulder. I'm giving you a choice. You can go right or you can go left. And if that dream happened on a Thursday, I was in church that Sunday and never stopped going.
Really?
From this day to now.
Wow. It sounds like there's a lot of detail I'm not getting because we're on this medium.
Right.
But I'm itching to know.
We'll do lunch. But yes.
Yeah, you gotta come to Staten Island so we can
Yeah.
get some of the tea, more of the tea.
Yeah.
But thank you for sharing because it's like I said, you bring a spark to the conversation. But the important thing for us to walk away here from today is to understand that we cannot allow personalities to forfeit whether or not someone can be sent to us by God. By the same token, being able to have the discernment when someone can negatively impact our mental health, and it's time to step aside or remove them from our lives, because it works both ways. We have to be healthy. We have to love ourselves because God tells us, love your neighbor as yourself, which means he expects us to love ourselves, right?
We'll always say, check the fruit.
Yes, that's true.
Check
the fruit. So with that, on that note, I'm going to end this conversation so that we can know that there's an impact on our relationships and the impact on our mental health, depending on the the quality of our relationships. But don't dismiss people based on personality, because you may be forfeiting some of the best relationships that you can ever have. With that, thank you, ladies, for being here, and have a very good night. Thank you.
Good night.
Bye-bye. Enjoy.